So if you're too cheap to take your kids to Time Zone, and if you can't stand the thought of putting your feet into a bowling alley hire shoe, I'm going to show you through some of my Scavenger Hunt escape room style birthday party games. Now, the way I've started this out is by brainstorming the range of different kinds of puzzles and clues and games that I can incorporate, and then mapping them out on a timeline just to try to get a bit of a sense of how I can start things out, how I can introduce the activity, and having it lead along in a nice sequence to get the kids to the prize at the end. I like to start with a fun premise, and for this one I used one of my son's comic characters that he and his friends draw. It's this weird character called Pizza Gug, and I used him as the evil villain who had stolen their party bags. So I started it off, I introduced the premise by saying, look, I'm sorry, but something's happened with the party bags. It seems like someone has compromised our security systems, my computer's been taken over, and we're going to need to figure out how we get these party bags back. The only clues I have are these puzzle pieces. And so I gave each group, two different groups, a set of the puzzle pieces that were used just from one of these blank puzzle templates, and I'd sort of made it up into a clue which they then had to put together, and then the two groups had to work together to get the clue to actually open up the computer to get a video message.
Thanks for not inviting me to your party. Well, cop this, buddy. I've stolen your party bags. Good luck trying to get them back, buddy, because I've hidden them very carefully. And unless you can decipher my clues, you can kiss goodbye to your Bertie Beetles and your Whiz Fizz. If you and your foolish friends can find the two places that Mushroom King likes to sit in the garden, then maybe, just maybe, you'll have a chance at getting back your party bags. Good luck, fools!
So I used a doggy Snapchat filter to create these video messages from this cartoon character, Pizza Gug, and that sent them off on their first outing to just find two clues in two locations. Now, particularly if you do have, more than 5 or 6 kids playing, you do want to send them off into some different directions and not have one whole big group. So I could have even split these guys up into 3 groups, and that would have been great. And that will lead them to their first set of clues and codes to decipher. So under one of the mushrooms they had this decoder ring. Under another set there was these little clues which had a coded message and then a way of decoding that. Now, so color coding is important here. On this decoder ring, which I just got from one of my kids' little spy kits, it's blue and pink. So I made sure that the colors that I was using were all blue and pink, and so I've got here pink A equals blue P, and the code that they had to decipher was in pink writing. The message in this one was mailman, so they ran to the mailbox and were able to pick up another envelope which just had a key and message lunchtime. So the green key from the mailbox leads you to the lunchbox inside on the bench, which has a green padlock on it, and once that's unlocked we get our next clue. Now it's a clue and a prop. So we've got a calculator here and a little equation here, and it says Pizza Gug will turn this party upside down. Now the clue is, or the key part here is the upside down. Shoes. So the hunters will go around looking for shoes I have actually spread these two out into different locations just to split the group up a little bit. And when they find it, they can pull out two different parts of a code. So this one is a cylinder with lots and lots of letters on it, and I've got a green stripe at one end. When they meet up with their friends who have found the other half, they get the decoder part. And so this is like a cylinder cipher. So once we slot one into the other, up until that green line, you'll see we get some of the letters coming through, but if you wait until you get right to the correct point where each of these is now filled with a letter, and that sends us to the freezer. So from the cylinder, that sends them to the freezer, and this is where you need to do a little bit of preparation beforehand. So I have a small container kind of clearly labelled as something to do with the game, so they don't tip out all your frozen peas on the floor or anything. And inside there, I've put the next message in a watertight bag, dropped it in, and filled it with water, so that overnight it turns into ice, and then they've got to figure out how they get the message out. Sometimes you could have something sticking out that says, you've got to figure out how to get me out of the ice. But it means that they've then got to choose: do they run it under hot water? Do they just try to smash it on the ground? Do they microwave it? Do they heat it up in some other way? So as long as there's no metal in there, so they don't microwave like a key or anything. But yeah, that means that they've then got to, as a group, perhaps talk about some different ways that they could get that message out. So they get the message out, and for this one, it's leading to another prop that I've got set up nearby, which is Pizza Gug's iPad. So on one side of the message, I've got these are the first 3 digits of my iPad code, and then there's the obligatory rhyming clue on the back. For the next 3 digits of my iPad code, you must open the doors of the smaller abode. After they ask you a million times what an abode is, they figure it out. It's the smaller house, which in this place means my studio here. What I've done with this one is I've got these sliding doors to my studio, and using just a really simple technique that they have in lots of different escape rooms, where different lines might line up to make like a digital format kind of number. So you can see here the slight remnants here of these little bits of post-it paper that I used, so that when the doors are all opened up, and if you look at them directly on, you'll see those digits start to appear there. You could also use things like just tape or chalk paint pens, anything just to get some marks on those different panes of glass, so that when they slide together, they form the next 3 digits. So then they can use those 3 numbers and the new 3 numbers, put them into the iPad, which will then open up for a new next clue.
You fools! You think you've defeated me? You are not even close. Next, you must engage in a battle of wits with the wisest Year 3 graduates in the land. But to get there, you must cross the poisoned paddock of doom without ever touching the grass.
So the message on the iPad talked about the participants having to get across the grass to the wise Year 3s without touching the grass. So, yeah, you had a little important role in being one of the wise Year 3s.
Yes, because he invited some people who had my friends as their younger sibling.
Explain to us how this game of Rafts works, so that how the boys get across the lawn to where the wise Year 3s are.
So, basically, it's kind of like the floor is lava, but it's a bit more creative than that. So you could use props. For example, I brought in 2 props. a boogie board and a cardboard box, you would have to try and like pick up a prop, then pass it on and then to the person in the front. So how it works is you would have this pile of props, but not too many, and you just have to try go on the props, like stand on them, without touching the floor. You would just have to put more props on. Like there's a lot of passing and a lot of teamwork.
So you pass it down like a chain of the team.
Yeah. So for example, if I was in front.
Yeah. And then I get to step on that one.
And then I'll pass it on and I'll put it at the ground so that they can walk on it. If you touch the ground, then you just have to start all over again.
So, once they got across the lawn to where you and the other year threes were, what happened then?
So we would have trivia questions and we'll ask them a question and then they would have to answer it. But if they answer it right, then we'll give them a letter. And they would keep that letter, but if they guess it wrong, they would just miss out. But after everyone had to go, for those people who got one, you'll just ask them again.
So they had to keep answering questions correctly until they got all 6 of your magic letters, and then you presented them with this from an envelope, which had this clue here. Here is half the answer to your final test. Find the magic word to get the rest. And then they had to then use their magic letters
to spell out a word.
And then what was the word?
It's what grown-ups tell you to do if you say, I want a glass of water. They said, what's the magic word? And you say, please.
So the other guys had to ask please to you to get the other half of the test, which was...
But like none of them really said that. Which was a decoder. And they would use this to try find a word.
And so this then gave them the last 3 numbers to the last lock.
Which opened their party bags.
Woo!
Make it rain. With lollies. Can we, should we do that again? Because I made lots of mistakes.
Well, it's all right. I can edit it down, actually.
But I want to see it.